Well, today we have two stirring readings from the Word of God. In the first from the Acts of the Apostles, this year for some reason I was drawn for the first time to the reference to the beautiful gate at the temple. It was the place where the man who had been crippled from birth was brought each day to beg. It made me wonder why it had this name, the beautiful gate. So a little research revealed that it was most likely at one of the main entrances at the Temple Mount, perhaps leading to the court of women. Maybe that's why it was beautiful. It was a public place where many would have seen that man each day. And no doubt the gate was beautifully ornate. Symbolically, though, it would stand in stark contrast to the life situation of the man who, because of his disability, needed to beg for sustenance each day. And no doubt there were people who manifested religious observance by solely visiting the temple, but at the same time lacked the compassion fueled by their faith. Peter and John remind us of the need to have both, to observe our worship of God at the celebration of the Mass, and at the same time to have compassion, to have generosity toward those in need, whether it be material or spiritual or relational. And in the gospel, we find a reminder of how Jesus' presence in our lives is often only realized after the fact. Just like the two disciples on the road to Emmaus, at times our eyes, our ears, and our minds, they can prevent us from recognizing that Jesus is right before us. Every one of us wants to be close to Jesus. We want to hear him speak words of direction. We want to hear him speak words of encouragement. We want him to speak words of consolation and so many others. However, at times, even though when we try to clear our minds, even though when we really pay attention to listen and look, we don't often recognize his work in our lives until some point afterward. As I was reflecting on this, I can remember several key moments where I perceived the love and the mercy of God in the moment. But perhaps like me, most of the time we come to recognize Jesus' presence afterwards, in a moment of quiet, in a conversation with someone who we connect with very deeply, or perhaps in our quiet time to pray. The good news for all of us is that Jesus doesn't give up on trying to make his presence known, just as he persisted with those two disciples. He reaches out repeatedly every hour of our day. He helps us to understand not only the Word of God, but to how it is to be lived, as we heard in that first reading. And Jesus is certainly visible in the Eucharist that we celebrate at this Mass. My brothers and sisters, each of us has passed through a beautiful gate of sorts as we entered into this holy sacrifice of the Mass. And we're in the presence of Jesus, both in the Word and the Eucharist. As we leave and exit through that beautiful gate, we'll most likely meet people in need. I believe the challenge for us is to ask ourselves, how can we bring the love and compassion of Jesus to all that we meet, including our family members? How can we use God's grace and the example of Peter and John to bring about healing and consolation and strength, all with the joy of Easter?